Welcome back to the Cog Weekly Podcast, Season 4, Episode 3.
Yeah, we just released our episode with Alessandro De Vite, so we hope you all enjoyed that very thoroughly. There was a lot of really cool information in there about what it's like being a match analyst for a top club in Europe. If you want to go watch that episode, feel free to check it out on any podcast platform or on YouTube. And if you are like some people and you don't have a huge attention span and you just want to watch smaller bits of it that might tailor to you more in certain ways, you can go to our YouTube where we post clips daily from the podcast that are smaller, between 5 and 10 minutes, for you to get little tidbits. And yeah, so we hope you enjoyed that, and feel free to go watch it if you haven't yet. But today we have on another guest. We're doing a lot of guests right now.
Yes, we are.
It might be planned that we're doing more guests.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe not. But today's guest is Eli Seehof-Flory, a co-host of the Champs Pod, who is a part of the Glass on Grass Media Podcast Network. And he's fantastic. If you haven't checked out the Champions Pod, make sure you go do that. They talk about all things Champions League. But he's with us today to talk about all things footy, even though footy seems to not really be happening at the highest level right now. But we have a lot to talk about regarding transfers and stuff. So he's here with us to talk about that today. How are you doing, Eli?
I'm good. A little bit sad because there's not too much soccer to watch. We've got MLS, J League, and I think that's about it. So,
are you watching the J League right now?
I'm not, sadly, but I've seen some crazy goals.
No, dude, seriously.
Yeah.
I think it's on ESPN Plus, for all of our American viewers. If you're looking for some high-level footy and you can't watch the MLS, or you don't want to for various reasons, then feel free to watch the J League on ESPN Plus. But yeah, you're going to see today with the Hassani of the Week that we were running dry with options for people to choose.
It's not the top quality talent.
No, it's not. It's not what we're looking for all of that. But we do have some good players and some good matches to predict, especially the club friendlies, which I feel like are, sort of getting bigger and better as time goes on, as teams want to improve and get ready for the season to start in like a month or so. But dude, I've seen you've been traveling all over the world for the last 3 months. I swear, you've been in every country. I just want to know real quick what you've been up to, because the last time I saw you was maybe in May, right? We were at Brits in May watching the Champions League final. So since all of soccer stopped, I haven't even seen you.
Yeah. I haven't traveled too domestically. I went on a little camping trip, but end of August, I'm going to Europe for 3.5 weeks.
That's sick, dude. Where are you planning to go?
Going to Italy for 8 or 9 days. We'll be in Milan, so we're hoping to catch AC Milan game once their schedules come out. So now we're just trying to get tickets, which is
quite difficult.
An American going to Europe to try to watch games, it's very hard to get tickets.
It's crazy, dude. No, so I was looking at how you're supposed to do it. I talked to Mac's dad a little bit as well, because they've been on a lot of trips where they go and, see Southampton or Fulham play or some other teams. And apparently, I don't know if this is true in Italy when you're looking for tickets there or anywhere else that you've been, but apparently sometimes you have to join these supporters groups and then be the first to get tickets out of, they release them to the public 2 weeks before. So you can't plan ahead entirely.
Yeah. I went to see my first Chelsea match in March, and we were kind of just looking for the general admission tickets, just impossible, because that was around the time where the whole Abramovich situation was going down anyways. So we had the scare of no season, it was only season ticket holders, but we literally had to buy whatever the lowest tier of the lounge tickets or whatever, which wasn't it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't too expensive. But it's really hard to get tickets, because so many of them just either sell out or most of them go to season ticket holders.
I know, right? And it's crazy, the amount of Americans that could get scammed out of tickets when they go to Europe.
Yeah.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, we were going to go to an Ajax game, and we got tickets from, it was SeatGeek or something, some third-party site. But they were
which is reliable.
And they were legit tickets. They're completely legit. But they wouldn't take them because they weren't exactly from the club, and they're from an international site. So we had actual tickets, but they just wouldn't let us in. So we never got to the game.
That's crazy.
It was really frustrating.
And you think about it, they should have a much better system for that, because especially for internationals that are coming to Europe or coming to England to watch a game, Like, you're flying across the ocean to see a football match, and your tickets are not valid, even though they come from a legit third-party site. Like, they've got to... It seems like... And, like, obviously football is for, like, local communities, and, like, that's the whole foundation of football clubs. So you want to have, like, the best opportunities for people that live within your area to watch the game. But still, it baffles me how tough it is for tourists to get into games. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. But we didn't move on from ticket talk to the Hassani of the week this week, because although I did say that it was hard to find the exact players to put in the nominations for the Hassani of the week, we did find 3. The first player is Pedro, who scored a hat-trick, and he plays in... Dude, I didn't even remember the name.
He plays for Flamengo.
Yeah, Flamengo. Dude, I just fully blanked there. I don't know how that... Like, it seems like it's happening to me for all the Brazilian teams.
Well, yeah. I mean,
no, dude, it happened...
You're a huge Brazilian
it happened
football fan.
2 weeks ago with the Corinthians game. Remember?
Yeah, you did.
Like, it's the same thing. But yeah, Pedro Guilherme Abreu de Santos. I apologize if I didn't pronounce any of that right.
That sounded great, actually.
You think it was good?
Yeah.
I think it sounded... What do you think, Eli?
I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad. Yeah. But... Unfortunately, he scored 3 goals. We saw the match facts and everything, but the coverage of the Brazilian First Division in the United States is quite low. So even on YouTube, we could only find 1 goal. It was a nice header goal, but we could only find 1, and we searched for quite a while.
We did.
YouTube
usually has
YouTube will find them,
but
the 1 goal we found was someone recording their TV. So it wasn't the best quality, but we did see that he scored a hat-trick and he had a nice goal. And the Brazilian First Division, especially South American divisions right now, are some of the only things we can cover outside of, like you said, the J League and the MLS. So he gets himself into the Hassani of the Week nominations. And I mean, I think for good reason, like I said.
I think so. And then secondly, we do go to the MLS with DC United. Another hat-trick, Fuentes, for DC United. I think it was the goals were all over the place, really. There was a tap in, and then there was a decent finish kind of maybe 12 yards out, and then
bottom left.
The third one was off of a free kick. They touched it to the side and he hit it first time through the wall, pretty much under the wall. And so it was decent.
That was a good hat trick.
Group of goals, but I'd say nothing like the Benzemas that we've seen in the past.
When Benzema scores a hat-trick in the Champions League quarterfinals or whenever it was that he did that versus Fuentes scoring a hat-trick for DC United, the levels are much different. And I think that was go in the rating. I definitely do.
Yeah.
The last player that we wanted to touch on was Ravalasan, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Again, it's just so difficult that you can't find pronunciations for some of these people. This guy plays in the MLS, but it's so tough. It's he's younger in the MLS, so it's so tough to find pronunciations of people's last name. So if you know, just reach out and let us know. But he had a great goal. Actually, he had 2 goals, but the first goal that he scored was really good. And the assist from Saga was better. Insane. It was unbelievable. So that also got him in the nominations for the Hassani of the Week. But I mean, you can vote first. I think I know who I'm going to vote for, but you see who you do. Eli can vote last. Although we didn't brief you on who is going to be in the Hassani of the Week. So you don't have to vote. And if you want to vote, viewers should know that he is voting without any knowledge of these players at all.
I've got no idea.
We didn't brief him on this. People need to know.
I'm going to go with the DC United hat-trick, Fuentes.
I think I would have to go with the same thing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only hat-trick that I could watch fully. And the other one was a brace. So that's the only thing that I can say. If the Brazilian league was covered better in the United States, maybe Pedro Guilherme Santos would have had the opportunity to win the Hassani of the Week this week. But I think that, I mean, even with that, Eli can't really take it another way. We agreed on 2, so it's a 2v1 regardless. And I think you would agree that it would be Fuentes.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to follow the masses here.
All right, so congratulations to Fuentes for DC United for scoring a nice hat-trick this week in the MLS. Ratings-wise, I'll give him a 6.1.
6.1. Wow.
It's what came to my head, bro.
Okay. Well, I'd say last episode was a 7.3.
Yeah, but that was a nice hat trick, and it was
It's true.
it felt like a more clean one.
I'm gonna go 6.5.
All right, so we average. So no, this is the same math. We average at 6.3. Eli, if you don't know from last episode, I chose 7.1 as my rating, and Mac chose 7.5, and we're supposed to average them to get the the final rating, and I had to pull out a calculator for that. So not great from my math skills, but I blame.
We're not a math podcast.
I blame that on my schooling.
Yeah.
It's not me. Okay, so congratulations, Fuentes. Moving on to predictions. Now Eli can fully participate in these because he'll know all 6 teams that we are predicting, all 3 games, and they're fantastic matchups. We're gonna save the best for last. I think we have to. But the first,
the best?
Not the best. You'll know the best.
I guess we'll have to see.
You will. The first one though that we're predicting for this coming week is a club. All these are actually club friendlies because I'm so sick of predicting MLS games.
Yeah.
I just chose all club friendlies of European teams because I'm so done. Mm-hmm. So the first one is Man U versus Liverpool. Now I don't think we can expect for them to play high quality players from their team Virgil van Dijk, Sadio Mane. Oh, well, I suppose Sadio Mane won't be there. Regardless.
Sadio won't be there.
Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah, those kind of players. But I do think it's still a good game to predict. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, like you said, I don't think the best players are going to be playing necessarily, or they won't be playing big minutes. So it's looking at how deep each team is, and I'm going to go with Liverpool on this one. I just don't think...
You don't think Cristiano's going to play?
I don't think Cristiano will even be in the squad at all. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Liverpool win on this one.
All right. Eli, what are you thinking?
I don't know. It's really hard with these international friendlies because obviously they play kind of like the fringe players, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Coming back from loan, trying to get back into the squad, stuff like that. It's more important for those type of players. So when we look at who has better fringe players, I'd say probably Liverpool. I'd say probably something crazy like a 3-2, 4-3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really feasible option. It's definitely possible.
Uh-oh.
But you know me, I don't like to follow the masses. I'm not someone who, and it shows in my score for all time.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, I don't have the best all-time score for the predictions. In fact, it's probably the worst that you could do because you're always going to get some right. It's probably the worst you can do. Yeah. If you're actually trying to do bad.
Yeah.
But so I don't like to follow the masses. I prefer to find my own way, root for the underdog. And I mean, Man United's not even an underdog.
I don't know. You can call him an underdog.
No, and I know your Champions Pod co-host Don Vasquez is a Man U fan as well. So I have to support him. So I'm going to say Manchester United. Also, for anyone wondering, we're not talking about the games that we predicted last week because only one of them actually happened. Yeah. We're recording this
on a Friday.
On Friday, so they actually haven't happened yet. It was the El Tráfico, which is tonight, so we have no idea. So we'll have the scores from last week on the podcast so you can see, but we have no idea what happened.
Exactly.
But yeah, so first game done, I predicted Man U, you two predicted Liverpool. Second game is one that I know what you're gonna say because you always say this you always say the big teams are gonna win that's your strategy. Okay. And so I know what you're gonna say, but this is FC Lugano versus Inter Milan, and I think FC Lugano is slept on quite a bit. Okay. They're in the Swiss First Division. They've produced some great talents over the years. They're a good club. They're in a great area. So I'll go first, and then we'll go Eli and Mac. And we'll reverse the order. I'm saying an FC Lugano win. Now, Eli, you're seeing why my record is so bad.
Well, I might have to follow you with that one. I think
that's what we like to see. When the guests bring in the heat like that, we like it.
Okay.
So you're saying FC Lugano win?
Yes, sir.
Dude, no, their stadium is sick as well.
Well,
have you ever seen it?
No.
You've never been there? Have you never been there, bro?
I've not been there, but I do see their last game they played. They lost to Ingolstadt.
No, we don't talk about Ingolstadt. That was in the past.
Which is a very poor result. So I'm gonna actually go with an Inter win. Like you said, I go with the big teams.
Yeah, you always go with the big teams, bro.
You kind of have to when it's this lopsided of a matchup.
Okay, I respect it. Well, I don't respect it, but I understand.
Okay.
I can't respect you for that, but I understand it.
Right.
The last one that we're predicting, and like I said, we're saving the best for last. Now, this one is going to be controversial on the podcast, especially for me, because I love to choose the team that has the better chance to win, and in this case, it would be the team that you don't think has the better chance to win, if you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. I choose the lower team because, generally speaking, they have more hunger. And and so like that's who I want to choose, but also I have to be supportive of our last podcast. So this one is Roma versus Sunderland, another huge game. Like the stakes are so high on this one.
What a matchup!
But like I have to go with Roma on this one because of our previous interview with Alessandro De Vite being a match analyst for Roma. I do think Jermaine Defoe is going to score a couple goals though. I think it's possible.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
39 years old, still pulling the strings.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to follow you on that one and go Roma. Sunderland newly promoted to the championship. I'm not sure.
Great club.
I think they're going to be trying a few things out while Roma just won the Conference League. And I don't know if they're going to take a loss to Sunderland. I think they're going to go all out and make sure that doesn't happen.
No, they're all still hungover from the party bus.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
All right, what are you thinking, Eli?
I'm not.
Just so you know, you said Roma. I was going to try to convince you to go the other way. The fans are
That's
crazy.
not
at
smart,
Sunderland.
though. That's not
I
the smart
just
way
met
to
a
go.
guy in Minnesota who is a Sunderland fan, and he said Sunderland till I die it's all of us. We're all there regardless. Even if we're in like the 8th division, we're all going to be there. So like you can't count those fans out, bro. You can't.
Have you seen the documentary for that?
I started watching it.
It's a great documentary.
But I didn't finish it. And like the people who listen to the podcast will know that I struggle with documentaries.
You started the Juventus one.
I started the Juventus one, and then I talked about it on the pod, and I was like, I'm gonna finish this one, and I didn't even watch the second episode. So people at the podcast
It happens.
will know.
It happens.
But yeah, no, I hear it's really good, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So
Netflix did well.
Netflix always does well.
Yeah, but then a few things before we get into the transfer saga. We have just some news. The U.S. youth national team, U20s, won the CONCACAF championships. They also then qualified for the Olympics and the World Cup in doing that in the tournament. So players like Paxton Aronson, Kate Cowell, Caden Clark.
Now?
Yeah, I did see that. I think a lot of people are saying he should go to Salzburg again, just like Brendan Aronson, which is not a bad shout. But I don't think Paxton even gets a lot of minutes at Philadelphia right now.
I don't even know. Like, again, you'd have to ask the supporters pod before you could ask us. Like, we have... I just don't watch enough MLS. Like, I'm struggling. The past 3... I'm so glad we've had interviews because I'm struggling the past 3 weeks at figuring out what to talk about on the pod because, like, the MLS, I just don't watch enough of it.
Yeah.
So, like, I couldn't tell you.
I think the games I've seen, like, I've watched Philly if United are playing them or something.
Oh, yeah,
he's always come off the bench. He's never been a starter, at least in the past couple of years. So we'll see. He should probably be a starter, I'd say. But Philly are doing well this season. Yeah, he did. He got the golden ball and the golden boot in the tournament. So, yeah, I thought it was very well done by the U20s. Good
Eli,
future.
did you watch the coverage at all, or at least like some of the Instagram posts about it?
I watched the first half of their first game that they won like
15-0.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But it was interesting because I tuned in because Lenny, you played with Caden before, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Because like we both played with Caden, but then Antonio Carrera, who was like the second goalie, he used to play at MTA as well.
No way.
Really?
Yeah. So
wait.
Like,
When did he play there?
Oh, back. Do you remember Fernando? Like
the old coach.
So when we were like U9, U10, and U12, he was like one of our like close friends. Like we spent so much time together. So it was. I was really like watching it because he was starting.
So he's like basically our age.
Yeah, he's. Yeah.
So he was in your age group.
Younger. He's a year younger than me, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That must have been cool to see him on.
Yeah, so it was cool because like it's someone who like.
No, but then it makes me and Eli be like, well, what happened? Like, why aren't we there? like I wouldn't deny a spot on the U20.
No, you gave it up for the podcast.
The podcast is so much more important. No, but that's cool, bro. And like it shows that Minnesota does produce talent. Like for anyone who like lives in the US and knows about youth soccer and developing, like Minnesota is super slept on, and it shouldn't be that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good that we had two. MTA, which is me and Eli's home club when we were youth players, and also just Minnesota boys in that squad. Really good to see. And also, I don't know if you said this, but we qualified us for the World Cup in the like quarterfinals, right?
Yeah, it's weird how the tournament worked. When we won in the quarterfinals or something, like you said, we qualified for the World Cup and then we qualified for the Olympics in like winning the semifinals.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even winning the whole tournament. It was just like on our way to the final, you could qualify through those games. Who knows? I think the system is very complicated.
Like, also, I have a real question for you guys. So, did you see the video that Caden Clark put out after they won and they were celebrating in the locker room?
Yeah.
Like, they were like throwing stuff around.
Yeah.
But like, could you see that they were like shaking up bottles and then like popping them, and there was like fizz going around everywhere? So you'd think that would be champagne, right? But this is the U20 youth national team. So I want real controversy here. This is going on YouTube.
Oh, I don't know.
Do we think the U.S. youth national team U20s were drinking after they won the CONCACAF championship?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No. What do you think it was then? Just like kid champagne?
Yeah. It could be non-alcoholic.
That's kind of crazy, dude. Kid champagne after you win a national tournament? That's outrageous.
I feel like the U.S. like organization would get in trouble if they provided them with.
Dude, if they like provided it so bad.
Yeah, so I doubt that was what was going on there, but
you never know.
It's Honduras.
You can't count it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are in Honduras, so you never. I don't know the drinking age in Honduras. Maybe it was legal.
That's true.
You never know.
That's very true. And then right before, actually a couple days ago, Pochettino was sacked by PSG.
Rolling right into it.
Yeah, Christophe Galtier.
No, he wasn't sacked by the way, we need to correct that. It wasn't sacked by PSG, bro. It was sacked by
Mbappe.
Yeah, there you go.
The manager Mbappe. But the new manager is he managed Lille and Nice in the past couple of years. Do you think it was right to sack Pochettino after, there's obviously the collapse against Real Madrid this season in the Champions League? They have Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, all this talent. But we've seen it in the past. I feel like that PSG have always underperformed with the amount of talent they have. And I don't know if it's personally Pochettino's fault. I think they're playing decent football, but what do you guys think? If they should have stuck with him, or they really needed a new manager? Just keep trying.
Dude, it's hard. I want Eli to answer this first because I have to think, bro.
I think that, Poch, since they signed Messi, even before, like this PSG job, it's the hardest job that you have in management. Like Manchester United is kind of close in terms of like how big the club is and where they need to be. But this PSG job is probably one of like the hardest jobs that you could take on. And especially signing Lionel Messi, like the expectations just rise, and they just like, it's clear how much they want a Champions League, and they really just have no patience. The board has no patience. The owner has no patience. So I don't know if it was necessarily right, but I think it was the PSG thing to do, which is just like,
exactly.
Dude, so true. So true.
Yeah.
That's actually so accurate. Dude, so I saw the TikTok from, the guy who works for BR Football. He, started as a TikToker, and then I think he got signed by BR Football to do, he does the Champions League hotel thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, that animated thing?
No. Eli, do you know what I'm talking about? He does, he wears the kits, and he's, the teams who check into the Champions League hotel, and, he'll just do skits about, the
on
teams.
BR Football?
It's on BR Football.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so the people who are listening will know. No, they will. He's popular, bro. So he did one. He did another skit about this whole Poch thing, and he said the intended thing in the story was that Mbappe sacks Poch to try to bring Zidane in, and then Zidane wants to go for the French national team job instead. So I don't actually know if Zidane was actually an option for PSG, or if he turned them down immediately, or if he snaked them, but. I would feel really bad if I was PSG right now, and that's the reason they did it. Yeah,
that would be actually a very good move for Zidane to go to the French national team. I think Deschamps. We'll have to see what France does in the this next World Cup, but obviously they went out versus Switzerland in the Euros last year, so that was a disappointment, but. They obviously won the last World Cup, and I think they're still favorites to win this one coming up. But
yeah, I would agree.
They'll definitely wait till after the World Cup. I don't know if Zidane is even willing to get that job, or
that's what I'm saying.
Other jobs in general.
If they were counting. Well, I mean, especially PSG.
Yeah.
If they were counting on him going there, like I don't even know if he would go to PSG and then also the French national team. Like it's weird. But Deschamps is solid, so it's an interesting one that I don't really know what's going to happen there. But I think Poch has not had the level of success that he would have wanted at any team that he's been at. Like generally speaking, Spurs, he's literally every time almost gotten there.
Yeah,
he's been so close and then just failed. Like at Spurs, he got them to the Champions League final, which is like the most prestigious game outside of the World Cup final in all of football. Yet he couldn't get them good enough places in the Premier League frequently or a Premier League title, and he couldn't get them the Champions League final that time, and so he wasn't able to win them the trophies that Tottenham needed and to add anything to their trophy case. And then he goes to PSG, he signs literally the GOAT, and he fails. So I think that it was right to sack him, but I don't know how this new manager is gonna get on.
I looked into because I was like a little bit like, who is this guy? Like, I don't know much about him. So I looked into it, and like he's a 4-4-2 like at heart kind of manager.
Really
interesting.
Like
that's strange for PSG though, yeah.
It is, and like the other thing about it is like they don't typically like sign people from inside the French league.
No,
they're more of like a worldwide brand. You know what I'm saying? Like they bring in.
They have the oil money. They bring in everyone.
So like it's kind of like untraditional for them, especially in the past like decade, to bring in someone like from League One. And so I was looking into it, and like he plays out from the back, but it's mostly 4-4-2. But it led me to the question, like, how do they play with a strike partnership?
Yeah.
Or did they go to like a 3 at the back,
really good
or 5
point,
at the back? But at the same time, like, how are you, like, he likes to play with a strike partnership, but he also likes to have like he had Burak Yilmaz at Lille, who was like a big like striker. Like he likes that kind of player, and PSG don't really have that. Like, no. So I'm just kind of like I think this might be a little like a sign that we could see Neymar leaving.
Yeah, I would agree.
True.
And like I think it's also interesting. You said like he likes to play out from the back, but he also wants a dual strike partnership, which I think is kind of hard because you're sacrificing a midfielder for a striker when those extra numbers in the midfield will help you man it better and overall have more control of the game to play out from the back. So it's kind of interesting like that he has those clashing concepts. And I don't think that PSG have the personnel to do that. And so he would either, in my opinion, have to change his style of coaching, which I think is always a terrible idea. You should always stay true to your values and your style. Or he would have to sign new players, which means, like you said, you're going to see other players that don't fit that, even if they're big, high-profile names like Neymar, you're going to see them leaving.
I could see Mbappe being capable of playing in a two-striker formation. Obviously, like you said, Neymar is not going to play left mid where he has defensive responsibilities, and I don't think he's going to be great as like a false nine or something, like a link-up play.
Because in a 4-4-2, you have to play defense as a midfielder.
Yeah, everyone past the two strikers pretty much has to be like box to box.
Yeah,
and I think Messi Mbappe like front two would be interesting, but they don't have, like you said, they don't have like a big striker, which usually comes with the 4-4-2, where maybe you have a more pacey striker alongside him to play off of him. But two, like a Messi and a Mbappe, are both, you know, just not strikers by trade, and it's going to be interesting to see how if he does change his formation or he tries to have those players play in that formation.
The sneakiest thing would be, and I just like thought of it, usually you have a hold-up striker who comes to, receives the ball, has a guy on his back, lays it off, and then you have your other striker who runs in behind, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like generally how you play a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
But he could drop Messi in and have him be the hold-up player, but not like with players around him. He just comes in, receives the ball, and finds space, and then Mbappe is the one who runs in behind. So you kind of like reverse the roles of big man, little man.
Yeah.
But you're still having like the same sort of attraction where you bring the center backs out and then you open up space for Mbappe to run through. And I think that could work, but it also could be an epic failure. Like it would be so bad.
That's just PSG like in a nutshell.
And no, it is, bro. It's crazy. Like you never know how they're going to be.
Yeah.
they always have a really strong squad, and then you're just like, well, are they going to do well this year? Like, are they even going to win the league when you have other teams like Lille that are really solid now? So
it'll be interesting to see,
you never know.
Especially like considering the fact that like if they went to like a back five or something, like players that we forget about, like Ashraf Hakimi, he's best as a wing back. Like Nuno Mendes is best as a wing back, and then they have Sergio Ramos as like their backup center back, who 2 years ago was one of the best.
Was the best in the world.
Literally, it's crazy, dude.
So they could go with a back three of like Kimpembe, Marquinhos, Sergio Ramos, but that'd
be really solid too. That would be really good, dude. And especially if you put Ramos in the middle of that, he has to cover less ground, do less running, especially now that he's getting older with his legs. Like that might definitely work, 100%.
It's fair.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to see. I think that PSG team is all a mystery. How they're gonna play, who they're gonna sign, who's gonna leave. It's all a mystery, and we're just gonna have to see. But on the topic of transfers, we're gonna go into the transfer saga now. We're gonna see, who we think's the best transfers with our individual clubs, bad transfer, everything that you might be wondering about transfers, we're going to cover. So first, I think we just need to start it with who is the best individual transfer that you guys have seen throughout this transfer window. We're going to start with our guest, Eli, co-host of Champs Pod, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a player who's playing in the Champions League this next year. But we shall see. What do you think?
So the player that I think like the best individual transfer that I thought of, and it might be a bit controversial here, but Antonio Rudiger for me has been the best individual transfer because,
of course, to the Champions League winners
and a Chelsea fan. So
wow, who could have predicted?
But I'm thinking of players that are like the perfect fit and a perfect price.
No, you're totally right, dude.
Like they paid nothing for one of the best defenders in the world. And at the same time, they needed that aggressive center back who can win aerial duels because they got beat in the air far too much in the Champions League and in the league. Like Courtois faced so many shots, and they really needed someone like a big defensive name to come in and shore up that defense. And I think it'll be a great partnership alongside someone like David Alaba or Militao, who, especially David Alaba playing off the left side. Like he can play out of the back, and then you have someone who's stronger, more aggressive next to him, which is, obviously Alaba's weaknesses. So I think this was just all around like the best transfer for me in terms of like fitting like Real Madrid's needs. And this is a team that just won the Champions League with frankly a defense that was not very good. So I think this is the perfect transfer for them.
Yeah,
I agree. It's like a really solid transfer. I think he was in our contention for Defensive Player of the Year. We left
I think Thiago Silva won. Yeah,
but he was in contention for Defensive Player of the Year for Class and Grass Awards for this past season. So I mean, everyone knows how good he is. He's a class.
Yeah, I think anyone who got him because he was a free agent, anyone who would have picked him up would have.
That or Bayern, yeah.
Yeah, Bayern. Yeah, Real Madrid. I think those were Juventus maybe too. But yeah, I think that is a very fair shout. I think for me, I kind of went the same direction with low price but very good player. It's pretty much the most obvious one is Erling Haaland, who
why you gotta do that to me, bro?
He had a release clause of 66 million.
I have to think again.
And at least on transfer market, he's worth up to 165 million. So they saved 100 million somewhat through that transfer. Man City. Also with Ferran Torres, Sterling most likely leaving, Jesus leaving. They had a lot of forwards that are leaving, and I think Haaland comes in, pretty much replaces, you could say, what Aguero did, which is just pure scoring. I think he's going to the amount of chances he's going to get, he's just going to be crazy good this season.
He's going to be so good.
And for only 66 million.
I'm not going to put him in my FPL team. Like, it's still a risk, but I agree with you.
Yeah, that was yours.
Yeah, well, it was mine, but now I'm changing because...
Oh, okay.
Like, that's not allowed. Like, I can't pick the same one as you. So...
Just on the Haaland one, too, like, I think this signing is, like, people have been talking about, they got him for 50 million. No, they got him for 50 million plus 40 million in agency fees.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, like, yeah, like his agency fees were a lot. So they paid probably 80 million in total.
Exactly.
Like, that's still like super cheap.
But the question is, if he had 2 years left on his contract, how much would teams be going after him for?
Had to be like 200. Yeah.
So when you look at this, like, on transfer market right now, his market value is 165 million.
Yeah.
And they have his fee listed as 66 million. So they saved 100 million off of his market value.
That's what I was about to say. Like if you are paying less than transfer market values, you're getting a steal, because transfer market always undervalues people from like what they actually go for on the market because of contracts. So you're always going to pay a little bit more because of a contract.
And just teams bargaining like, he's very important, so we're going to add 30 mil to his price just because he's so important.
If you get anything under the transfer market value, you're getting a steal. And they got it reduced by, 70%?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So,
very good sign-in.
Yeah, that's an incredible signing. He was mine initially, but now I'm going to go with so it's between Raz and Gabby Jesus. And like I say this because of importance to the team that they're going to. But for me, like I know we have a Chelsea fan on, so it might be good to say Raheem Sterling. And like I do think he's going to do really well. I rate the signing. I don't know how you feel about this. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm going to say Gabriel Jesus, because I think he's going to be really, really important to Arsenal this next season. Yeah. And I think Arteta really rates him and understands his quality and how to play him and get the best out of him. So I think he's going to fly at Arsenal, and he's that last piece to their puzzle to make everything click and start playing like a top 6 team consistently. I know like they've had performances throughout the season that make them look like one of the best teams in the league, but it's about consistency. In the Premier League, you have to do it for 36 games, and I think he is the final piece to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's why I go with him.
Yeah.
I had, sorry, Mac, did you want to?
No, go ahead.
I think Gabriel Jesus is like, I think that's kind of like what they needed. Like they needed someone who, obviously, like when players come from outside of the Premier League into the Premier League, it's always a question of like how they're going to adjust. And I think it's so much nicer when you can sign someone from within, like from Premier League team to Premier League team, because they don't have to make the switch. They're playing with the same teams, and like Arteta's system to Pep's system is not too different. Like obviously there's differences there, but they both like kind of the same. They have the same like patterns of play and stuff like that. But I actually didn't have him. Like I have like a list of honorable mentions.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have Gabriel Jesus on there.
I mean, there's a lot of players that you can choose right now, and like I might be off the mark. Some people might think that, but I mean, first off, I was required to think on the spot because of you, which is annoying. But also, I do think that he's going, and like I'm focused mainly on the Premier League. So what's he going to bring to the Premier League? I think he's going to be one of the most influential signings of the Premier League season. And yes, Raz is up there, but I'm wearing the Brazil hat for a reason, so I had to choose him.
In terms of importance to the team, maybe he won't be the best like overall striker, but like you were saying, importance to a team as a signing, I think Arsenal got it spot on. And I'm excited to see Jesus in a starting, like a very important role instead of more of a rotation role at Man City. I don't want to see him as the number 9 for the club. But secondly, we can go to...
I'm going first on this one. I've already called it because you took mine last time, and I feel like you're going to...
We can have the same ones.
No. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm not going to change any of mine, but...
if you choose it, I won't choose it.
Which team has had the best transfer window? So not the best individual transfer, but which team, the amount of players they brought in, the quality of players, the importance to their team, which team has had the best window?
I'm saying that it's Man City because of the players that they've offloaded.
Wow, okay.
You think differently.
Yeah.
Okay. The players that they've offloaded that, in my opinion, didn't provide like that much to the team. Like they provided enough, but I don't think they were like difference makers to the point where like they can't live without them. And so the players that they offloaded, the money they've gotten from that, and then also the players that they brought in, specifically Erling Haaland, who now I can touch on because I have first pick here, and so I think that price they got Erling Haaland for and the players that they've offloaded, I would say that it's a very good window from them. That would be my choice.
Yeah, I only don't say Man City because Calvin Phillips, they spent like 50 million on him, and he's just gonna be like, they have Rodri already.
No, but it's better than last year.
I don't think he's gonna really change their team too much. He'll probably come in as a rotation, which he's an incredible player, and to be more of a rotation or more of like his whole role at Leeds was pretty much control the ball and then play the long ball through to their forwards. And I don't think he's going to be able to play to that level at Man City with Rodri already the number one in that position. I think he'll do well still, and I think it's a good signing if definitely for Leeds to get the money for him. But I don't know. Haaland is definitely the best transfer, so I could see why you said Man City.
Yeah, and like I think that once you get to the point of being a club that's so high value and high maintenance like Man City, where you need top players, even if you want to bring in a rotation player, you're minimum spending 50 mil. Like, you're not going to get anyone for cheaper unless you get someone who's going to develop at your club. Unless you do a Graham Potter move and bring in, like, 5 people who are completely unknown and then they all become really good, which is what Brighton did.
Yeah.
So, like, I think you have to splash the cash, spend the money on people
That's
who
fair.
become so prominent, like Man City. What are you thinking, Eli?
For Man City, like, the biggest question for me is if you have Raheem Sterling leaving, and then who else are they offloading up front?
Jesus.
Ferran Torres as well as possibly.
Torres and
He already signed to Barca from January, but yeah.
So he was offloaded. I think you can consider that part of
Yeah,
this.
like 3 players.
Yeah.
So Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling are 2 names who they both had kind of fallen out of the squad a bit this year, but I think now you look at this team and you say, okay, names like Phil Foden and Riyad Mahrez are going to have to play a lot more games than they have in previous years, especially Phil Foden. Like, this like comes to mind for me. It's like he's not a player where he would start every single game first name on the team sheet. Like, that's not really what his role was. And Pep had his like his winger roulette, as you could call it, like where he would rotate his wingers, who starts this game. Like, he had so much variety, and now I think a little bit of that is gone. I mean, they still have Jack Grealish, they still have Phil Foden, they still have Riyad Mahrez.
They have Cole Palmer as well.
Yeah, Cole Palmer. That's he's actually pretty cold. He's a baller.
Yeah, he is.
He's good. I think he's gonna have a breakout year this year.
I would be all for that, honestly. I would be pretty cool to see, but I just think like it'll be very interesting to see how these guys, like, they're gonna get a lot more game time than they have in previous years. So it'll just be interesting to see how they cope with that. But I'm expecting a lot more from Jack Grealish this year.
Oh yeah,
especially in games where they have Erling Haaland, because I think Haaland will kind of take defenders away from players like Grealish, and I think Grealish is at his best off the left when he can just cut in and play those little crosses, like little balls and stuff like that he can put into the box. So I'm expecting a lot more from him, but it'll be interesting to see how those guys play with much more game time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
Eli, what's your team? Was it Man City as well, or?
No, I've actually, as a Chelsea fan, this one's a bit sour for me, but I've gone with Spurs as the best.
No way. Well, so
okay,
that was on my list as well, but I just did not expect you to do that.
Yeah, so I have a list. I have Bayern Munich on here, I have Leeds on here, and I have Dortmund on here, and I also have Spurs. And I'm looking at the names that they've brought in, and I just like Richarlison, Yves Bissouma, and Ivan Perisic. Those are all like players that they like, especially being managed by Antonio Conte. Like, I'm looking at this Spurs team and saying, okay, they're going to be very good this year, especially considering like the players.
So you think Richarlison's going to play?
It'll be interesting to see how he plays. I think he'll be a rotation piece. Like, Kane and Son will play up top. But
Kane does get injured like throughout the season usually.
He's a great player to bring off the bench or to start. You can rely on him to start and get you a goal. Like, he can get like 8, 10, 12 goals a season if he wants.
Yeah.
And then Yves Bissouma, who's, I mean,
absolute class. Nothing else you can say about him other than one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, he's a ball player. He's someone who I feel like doesn't really get the respect he deserves. So he kind of reminds me of like playing that Tanguy and Ndombele role. Yeah. Like similar like way of playing and stuff. And I think he adds a lot of versatility to that Spurs midfield now, where they have Højbjerg and Skip, and now they have a player who's comfortable on the ball, beating the press, taking on players. And then Ivan Perisic, who's just, I think, like a steal. He's a bit old now, but he's played with Conte at Inter, playing especially as a wing back. And I think, I mean, he brings his attacking like versatility to this, where I think he'll score goals, he'll grab assists, and I think he'll just work very well under Conte's system.
Yeah. Totally. I understand that 100%.
I still would have liked to see Tottenham grab another defender. I think their defense is still a question, but getting Conte,
the defender they grabbed was
getting Conte is huge for them just tactically. So now their defense, I don't think, will be as exposed just because of the way he plays. But yeah, they have a former Southampton and a former Brighton player in their midfield now.
You saw the player that they're debating, like it's nearly there.
Who?
Clement Langley.
Oh yeah, they did loan him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So or Langley, should I say?
But I'm not sure.
I don't think he's gonna do well.
Yeah,
I don't either.
That's why I said like they did sign another defender, but it's quite iffy if he's gonna actually do well.
I mean, he was pretty much dropped from Barca, and their defense isn't all that great either. So, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, my team is following with Eli's with his first answer, which is Real Madrid. Yes, they've only brought in 2 players, one Rudiger for free and Tchouaméni for like 80 million, which is a big price tag. But I think 80 million for Rudiger and him is still like, I think any team would take that pretty much. But the reason is they're replacing Ramos, like you said, in the back with Rudiger, pretty like very similar play styles. I think they need that aggressiveness in the back. And then also with Tchouaméni, he's a defensive mid. Him and Camavinga are going to be incredible replacing Casemiro, Modric, and Kroos when they inevitably get older and can't play as many games. I think that was a very good move from them. And I see at least those 2, and then maybe you could see Valverde or someone else in that 3 of the midfield. That's an incredible young midfield. And I think they've done really well. They've fit the pieces that they're missing. I don't think they really need to get anyone else, but yeah.
You're spot on. I have one question that is sort of just like tangenting off or doing a tangent off that. Pedri and Gavi or Tchouaméni and Camavinga. Who do you want taking your team in the future? Who do you want stepping into the shoes of, with Pedri and Gavi, you look at that Xavi and Iniesta Busquets midfield that obviously Xavi and Iniesta are gone now, but they still have Busquets and they're sort of phasing out of that and coming into a new midfield era. Or you look at like you said, Casemiro, Kroos, Modric, who are a little bit younger than that previous midfield, but still phasing out and soon will be like, Luka Modric is 37. So they're on their way out. Yeah. So who do you think is better to leave in the hands of your team?
Ooh. Eli, do you want to take this one first?
I mean, both are great options, but I'm personally going with the French duo of Tchouaméni and Camavinga. Just Tchouaméni is just an insane player.
He's insane.
He's so good, dude.
He plays as a 6. He's like he reminds me of like a better defensive Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
Like he plays in a 6, but he's like 6'1", 6'2". He's built like kind of big, but at the same time, he can take players on. He can do everything. Like I think I heard this stat that he had the most interceptions out of like anybody in Europe or something like that, or maybe any like 6 in Europe. Like he loves to intercept the ball, make tackles, and he's so good defensively, but then beating the press is something that like I really love to watch in a player, and he beats the press so well. He's so comfortable with the ball at his feet. He makes good passes. And yeah, I just think that signing, like it's a great sign. He's one of the best number 6s in the world, like probably the best up and coming behind. Probably ahead of Declan Rice, I would say.
Really? You'd say that?
Wow. I mean, Declan's definitely further on in his career, but
yeah, he's a bit older.
I could see the takeover most definitely there.
I'm gonna go with those 2 as well, just because, like you said, I think they have the technical ability that Gavi and Pedri have, but they are both 6 foot plus, and just athleticism wise, I think they're gonna be Gavi and Pedri only have speed on them, I think. And
I would say technical ability.
The ability, with the dribble. Yeah. On the dribble, I think they're gonna be way better, but that's just 2 different play styles for me.
I mean, it's almost like Real Madrid Barca, like a complete identity.
Oh yeah, that's going to be the future of the rivalry. I think is looking at that midfield. I don't see like their forwards. I don't see them like huge.
Yeah.
You know, you could say Ansu Fati was in the running, but he's kind of dropped off a bit with his injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd personally go with the Real Madrid duo, just based on like they kind of seem to have like the whole package as a midfielder. Height, strength, technical ability, all of it. And would you agree?
I disagree.
Really?
Okay. This is super valid. The only reason I say this is because I don't think you can disagree with me that Pedri has performed at the highest level of all four of the players. Like, he is consistently able to put world-class performances in for the Spanish national team and for Barca. And, like, you just see the stats. I mean, even from, like, Euro 2020, like, the stats are
he was starting
crazy.
as an 18-year-old in the Euros.
And so he's done it at a much higher level than Camavinga or Tchouaméni or even Gavi. Like, Gavi is definitely behind him. He's a great player, but he's behind him in his development. So I think that, like, I don't have enough faith or confidence in Tchouaméni or Camavinga yet because Camavinga wasn't even, like, one of their star players or key players in their biggest games that Real Madrid were playing this year. He was coming off the bench. In the Champions League, he was coming off the bench. And so, like, and he was still getting time and he was a good player, right? You have to respect that. But I don't think he's as far along in his career development as Pedri. And for that reason, I think the Pedri-Gavi duo will do better eventually. Or at least I can say I have more confidence in them being successful eventually. Like, I don't have the full confidence in Camavinga Tchouaméni yet.
Yeah.
My response to that, I mean, just the only difference there is like Real Madrid won the Champions League. Yeah. Barcelona knocked out of the league. And like I think like Barca and Real Madrid are clubs at two completely different places in like their build up. Like Real Madrid is like one of the best teams in the world now, and Barcelona is like trying to build. Yeah, like they're building there and they're getting there. They have potential like with players and stuff like that. But I think that's why we see so much, we're going to continue to see so much more of Pedri and Gavi because they're being given like that freedom because they don't really need to like they're great players, but they're not playing to the level of Real Madrid right now.
So you're saying if Camavinga is in that Barca team, he's instant minutes immediately?
Yeah,
I would say so.
I could see that 100%. I'm just making sure I'm getting you.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a good point. I just like the only thing that I look to is like Euro 2020.
Yeah,
like, and obviously Camavinga wasn't really eligible. He wasn't like as old yet, and he wasn't available. So it's hard because Camavinga is now getting to that age that I think he's what 1 or 2 years younger. He must be.
I think he's like 19, isn't he?
Yeah, and let me look it up to make sure I get this right. So Pedri is
Gavi's like 17.
Gavi's so young, dude. It's crazy. Pedri is 19. So Pedri was in the Euros at age 17. Completing like 93 of 93 passes in the game. Remember that stat?
I do remember that. Crazy.
Yeah. Camavinga
that was against like Italy too.
Yeah. Camavinga is also 19. So, like, yeah, there you go. So, he's not even younger, really.
It's just different situations at the club. Like,
yeah, it is. And,
Real
like,
Madrid
but
just
Pedri's been given that bigger chance on the national stage. So, I would say I still have more confidence in him just because I've seen him more. It's hard to, like, when you know a player better, it's hard to then say, like, I trust someone else to do better in the long run.
Yeah.
So, that's the only reason I say that. But, I mean, they're both fantastic duos. Like we said, they're the future of the rivalry. And I mean, yeah, I don't even know how we got there on that tangent. But that was great.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, like, it's good to like see where those two teams are going in the future because I think that a lot of people don't realize that there is a very high likelihood and possibility that we get back to a place in European football where El Clasico is the biggest game in the world again.
It's true.
Like, I think it's possible, like super possible. Next one that we want to talk about, and this is like more of a debate. So kind of like the last thing we were talking about between those two midfields. This is, should Ronaldo stay or go? And does he hurt or help United? I mean, I've seen it in a lot of different punditry shows, podcasts, and everything. And I think we just need to touch on this because, you know, people want the Cog Weekly take. They don't need all of the other stuff. They need the Cog Weekly take. So is Ronaldo hurting or helping United? Let's have guest Mr. Eli answer this one first.
Ooh.
Well, I don't think you can say that Ronaldo hurts United at all. Like, I think actually I'll take that back. There's some aspects because he has an ego, he has high wages, but he's their top scorer. Like, his performance in the Champions League group stage alone, he single-handedly carried them through to the Champions League. Like, they would not have made it out of the group stages without him.
Absolutely not.
Like, and he did have like some goal droughts around the season, like small, like 3, 4, 5 games maybe that he didn't score, but he scored 18 goals in the Premier League and like 6 or 7 goals.
I think it was 24 total.
24 in all
season,
comps,
which is crazy. That's such high numbers.
It's crazy when we say that, because like the context of, for Ronaldo, that's a bad season.
That is a bad season.
But everyone like looks over it. They say like, oh, Ronaldo didn't have a great season. Like, he's not performing the way United need him. Like, he's hurting United or whatever. And I think I agree with you. Like, it's hard to say that he's hurting United when he's scoring 24 goals in a season. And he's, like you said, single-handedly getting them through a group stage. He won them so many games this year. Like, just with a last-minute goal. I don't know. It's the Ronaldo effect. Like, he always does it. Like, he's always there at the right time to win the game. He's a serial winner. So you can't say he hurts them unless you're talking about, like, actual play style and fundamentals of the team. Maybe there is a world where if Ronaldo wasn't at United, they had a couple different players that would work in different positions. Like, they had a better center back, they had a better midfielder, and maybe a better winger or something like that. That fit them better. Like, the whole spine of the team needs to be adjusted, in my opinion. But if they had a couple better players that maybe added to a price that was less or something than Ronaldo wages plus like buying cost and everything, and they were able to do well, maybe there's a world that they would have done better. But it's so hard to like say that would have happened if they didn't sign Ronaldo. I don't think they would be in a place where they could be better than they are now.
So are you agreeing?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I fully disagree.
Really? You think Ronaldo is hurting them?
Yes.
So you think take Ronaldo out of that team and they're going to do better with the player and the personnel that they have now?
I'm not talking about last season. I'm talking about this upcoming season. If he stays, he's going to hurt them so much because they're not the state of the club. They don't need him right now. They need a complete rebuild, and him staying around, like you said, high wages. He also just affects the development of like Sancho, Rashford, and all of these forwards because he's just demanding the ball and all the chances. Everyone's going to cross it into him. They're probably not going to try and play it like quick passes around to get an opportunity. They're just going to cross it into him or just find him immediately. I think that's why Sancho had like a drop off in the season. He never really got going because his job is to dribble and to create chances himself. But with Ronaldo, it's very much directly to him. He's also older, and I think with Ten Hag coming in, they just need a rebuild, and I think this season, if they do get rid of him, of Ronaldo, I think they should just look at it as a rebuild season and really develop players instead of, oh, we need to get this top 4 or whatever, so we need to keep Ronaldo because he gives us 20 goals. Like, I think they need to take this season on the chin and just be like, okay, get rid of Ronaldo, bring in young players for next season, then we can actually start competing again. That's just my opinion.
No, I see it. And like I think Ten Hag is the right manager for a rebuild. I definitely do. I think he would do well with the press and making sure that everyone knew, like, yes, it's a process. Mm-hmm. I think Arteta's done a marvelous job at Arsenal, making sure that everyone knows that it's a process.
Yeah.
And so I think similar to Arteta, and maybe even better, Ten Hag would do that really well. Mm-hmm. But there's so many aspects outside of football that make Ronaldo leaving such a bad idea. Publicity, just like that's the only thing I need to say. Publicity. Like, mm-hmm. Your team gets so much more publicity, so many more views, so many more people pay attention to you, and so many more people talk about you if you have Ronaldo. Even if you're doing like I think that.
But I think it's still going to be negative.
I know. I just think they're going to struggle to be willing to let him go. I don't know if they will do that. And obviously it's Ronaldo's decision at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, he can decide what he wants to do. He's a human being. So there's large talks about him leaving right now. I mean, even the shirt you're wearing right now, Eli, you guys are talking about. So yeah. So like it's a high likelihood, but I just see it being a very hard decision for Man United, and I don't think they're going to be super pro Ronaldo leaving. I do want to ask you though, Eli, what do you think about that whole Chelsea shenanigans with him possibly going to Chelsea? Are you a fan of that?
Not in the slightest. I mean, there's like when you look at it, okay, like looking at it from the Todd Bowley perspective, we're going on preseason tour in America.
Mm.
How much of like you could not make a bigger splash, a bigger entrance into like owning a football club, especially Chelsea. You could not make a bigger like market stamp than signing Cristiano Ronaldo, going to the United States and like showboating him around. And it's such a like,
dude, it's a scheme. It's the same thing I was talking about with United, but I think they're greedy, dude. I think they want that.
It's a marketing piece for sure. But when you look at it, if you're Thomas Tuchel, you're saying no, like this does not make any sense. We saw literally what just happened with Lukaku, like a player who isn't willing to sacrifice some parts of his game to fit the team's like squad and the like the way that we play football. And it doesn't make any sense like on the pitch. Like that's not the type of attacker that Thomas Tuchel likes. Like Kai Havertz, like he likes fluid attackers, players that can drift into spaces and like can play like around, like they can find spaces and stuff like that. I just don't see a world where Cristiano Ronaldo fits into this team, especially with his wages and ego and everything. I wouldn't want him at Chelsea.
Yeah, and I guess moving on to the next one, because we have a little bit more time, I think. We can go to which transfer that has happened is you don't think is going to fit right. That has happened with the club, player and club, maybe play style. It's just not really going to work. And who wants to go first? Should I go first?
Yeah, you got it on this one. I think I've taken a lot of them first.
Yeah. I think actually Richarlison is not the right fit for me. Only, like, yes, he's a wind-up merchant, and he's,
How do I get the thumbs up in your box?
Yeah. Yes, he's exactly a Conte player, but I do not think, let me see how much he was.
It was 50 mil.
50
mil plus
like
10 million
50, 60 million for Richarlison, who hasn't scored more than like 15 goals in his whole career in one season.
Horrendous.
Like they could have gotten a better defender for his 50 or 60 million with that money. I just don't think
they chose Clement.
Exactly. I don't think Richarlison he's going to be a sub. He's a 60 million price tag, and he's probably not going to score more than maybe 7 or 8 goals this season. I don't think it's a great fit. Yeah, I think he should have left Everton. I think that was a good move for him to move on. Tottenham probably wasn't the best for me. That's just my personal opinion, though.
I agree completely. Like, I just don't think... I think him and Clement Langley are my two least favorite transfers of the whole window, which kind of rips on Eli's
Yeah, Eli said it was the best window.
Tottenham have had the best window.
Yeah.
And they have done well, like, in other areas, but I just think these two players are absolutely horrendous. The initial deal was Anthony Gordon and Richarlison together, plus some money that they still had for one player. I can't remember. It was like there was some money that was like needing to be repaid, and then some transfer fee, and then those two players. And I was like, okay, that's better, because Richarlison won't do anything for Tottenham, but Anthony Gordon actually will. He'll be a young player who can develop there and maybe fill into a place where he's starting consistently, because I think he has much higher ceiling than Richarlison. But since that's not the case and Gordon's not going, I think that's a horrid transfer for way too much money. Yeah. And I don't think Clement Langley is good either. So I just add into that. I think it's a terrible transfer. Like, why are you taking that?
I'm not too sure you guys are going to like this one, but I think the transfer that isn't the right fit is Brendan Aronson to Leeds.
Really?
Wow, you are really firing shots at our own nation, bro. Look right here. We have the jersey right here. It's in the back, and you're firing shots at our own nation. That's crazy.
I'll tell you why.
Nah, I need to hear this.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm looking at Brendan Aronson's like on paper stats from last season. He's coming from the Austrian Bundesliga, which is what, the 8th, 9th best league in the world. Like,
you can't hate on him.
In 26 appearances, he scored 4 goals and had 5 assists. So it's not like he was by far the best player in this league. It wasn't like he was taking it by the scruff of the neck, like bagging goals, bagging assists. Yes, it's a player like Aronson. You can't judge him on fully on stats because of the pressing that he does. Like he works tirelessly with his press, which is a big reason why Jesse Marsch brought him into Leeds, because of the way that he wants to press and the way that he wants to play. But that being said, I'm very skeptical about a young player making the jump from the Austrian Bundesliga to the Premier League. Like that is a very the way that the Austrian Bundesliga is very similar to the German Bundesliga, and the way that the football is played. It's very pressing and counterattack. Like it's very open.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of players have trouble adapting from coming from Germany to England to the Premier League. Obviously, there's players like, I think Erling Haaland will be fine, but Brendan Aronson is not Erling Haaland. And
I mean, some say he is, but
I know that this is pretty controversial, as Americans, but I think he might struggle. Like it's a very, very big leap for a very young player.
No, I see it. I see what you're saying.
Definitely. I think he will bring that pressing aspect to that he has. Like he will be good at pressing. Like he will bring that aspect. But for a player who had 9 goal involvements in 26 appearances in the 8th best league in the world, coming to the Premier League and being an American adds on to the pressure. I feel that he has kind of, a lot of people are expecting a lot out of him, which might be unfair to him, but I think he'll struggle, honestly. I think he'll have a tough season this year.
What do you think of Tyler Adams then, also joining him?
I think Tyler Adams he's played in a tougher league. Like he's played on higher levels.
Yeah.
And I think he can I think it'll be a bit easier for him, especially playing in his position. Like he's very good at cleaning up, making tackles and stuff like that. And he kind of Leeds are kind of playing this transfer window like career mode, basically. They're just players left and right.
Yeah.
I think he'll fit in good, and he'll be they've signed Mark Roca from Bayern too, who's another 6. So with the absence of Calvin Phillips now, they have those 2 players to kind of switch off and take that role. So I have more faith in Tyler Adams than I do Brendan Aronson.
All right. Well, so one last thing I have to ask you before we get into our final thing that we're going to debate, which is just about our individual clubs, is who do you think will have better numbers after their first season in the Premier League? Now, this player that I'm going to say next to Brendan Aronson is no longer in the Premier League because he got relegated. But are we thinking Josh Sargent or Brendan Aronson has better numbers in the Premier League? This is what the people want to know. Josh Sargent scored, I don't know his numbers, but he scored a scorpion kick. So
Josh, I think he had 2 goals.
I think he had 2 goals and then 4 missed open nets.
I think Brendan Aronson will have a Josh Sargent kind of season.
You think he will? Really? That's so sad for US fans to hear.
I don't know, man. I have a lot of skepticism about this one just because of how big the jump he's making. The level of play in the Austrian Bundesliga versus the Premier League, the level of play, the patterns of play, but also the physicality, how physical it is. I think it'll be a lot. It'll be definitely a learning curve. And that's not to say that he won't succeed in his time at Leeds.
You're saying first season, yeah.
He'll have a lot to learn, and it'll be a lot for such a young player.
That's fair, I think.
I see the reason that you're arguing. I still would never go against the Aronson DNA. It's goated, bro. Both brothers are insane. But, I mean, there is a lot of skepticism. I think especially from people that aren't American fans, probably. Yeah. They're like, what is happening here? But, I mean, it's definitely not as skeptical as I am. Your skepticism towards Aronson and how he's going to do is less than my skepticism towards the 3 players that Brighton has signed in this window and how they're going to do. And like, I just never understand. We've signed like Jurgen Locadia and Alireza Jahanbakhsh as our record signings in like the entirety of the club, which is outrageous that those are our record signings. But other than that, we always sign like smaller guys that aren't super popular, maybe from lower leagues in like Belgium or the Eredivisie or smaller teams like that, or maybe some South American guys. So that's what we usually do, and we've continued to follow suit and do that again for this coming season. And like we're just going to move into what we think about our club. So I'll start with the two sort of big signings it's hard to say big, but the two signings that Brighton has made, and then the one contract extension. So the first one is Julio Enciso, who is a Paraguayan international. He's coming from the Paraguayan First Division. I think he's 18 years old. He scored 11 goals and had 3 assists in 14 games in the First Division of Paraguay, and then he also had some decent stats in the CONMEBOL Libertadores, which is their like sort of Champions League kind of thing. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's sort of like a cup competition for the South American teams. So he looks like a really solid player, but like, again, I just don't know how he's going to do coming from the Paraguayan First Division. Like, it's just such a huge jump. I mean, you see guys from the Paraguayan First Division that tear it up and then go to the MLS and don't do anything. So like, going that far, it's just crazy. Yeah. And then the other one is Koru Mitoma, who had 8 goals and 4 assists in 29 games in the Belgian First Division. Again, just like I don't really have faith in that. Like 12 goal contributions in 30 games in the Belgian First Division. How are we supposed to? And that might be a similar one to Aronson. Like the stats don't lie. Like it's very similar. But I just don't like. And Aronson I know much better because I watch him with the men's national team, so I have more faith in that. But I just don't know how Brighton's going to do well with either of those players. The one thing I was happy about, though, is Pascal Gross signed a new deal till 2024. So we do have him for a couple more years.
I would have expected you to actually sign someone more high profile.
We never do, bro.
I know, just because like you have just been in this middle state and you just
forever.
You need like someone.
Like if we don't sign someone better, I don't have faith that we're going to produce another Tariq Lamptey, another Yves Bissouma, and another Marc Cucurella. You know what I mean? Like these are players that were generally not super known. I mean, Cucurella was probably the most known when he came to Brighton, but still not super known. And then they come to Brighton and they tear it up. Yeah. I just don't have faith that we're going to continue doing that. I think that's partially luck. We have a great scouting team, but I do think it's partially luck.
So you're not happy overall?
No, I'm never happy in the summer as a Brighton fan. I'm never happy. 90% of the time, I'm not happy because we draw like 80% of our games, and I no longer am happy with a point. As a Brighton fan, I used to be, but now I'm not. And then the summer, which is 3 months out of the year, I'm never happy because we don't make good signings. So like, I'm only happy when we win, which is like 25% of the time.
I'll go to Southampton, which isn't a whole lot better in terms of draws and stuff, but we actually have been very active because you
guys always are.
We got new owners who are actually investing a lot of money. So we got Bazunu from Man City, goalkeeper, for 15 million. We got another goalie who just went out on loan immediately. He just like wasn't even in Southampton, but we bought him. And then we got this young defender, Bella Kotchap, who's 10 million. Who kind of reminds me of like a Salisu signing, where I don't think this season he'll do much, but next season he might break out. And then the one I'm most excited about is Romeo Lavia from Man City, a defensive midfielder, 15 million. Everything I've seen is he is an incredible up-and-coming player, and Man City put in a 40 million buyback clause for him. So they obviously think he's quite decent as well.
They're immediately coming back.
Exactly. But I'm excited to see how he does. And then we also, probably in the next day or two, are announcing Joe Aribo from Rangers, who is a midfielder, but kind of played forward towards the end of the season because they had some injuries. So honestly, very active for Southampton at least. And I like the route of young Big Six academy players and giving them a chance, because we saw with Livramento, he had a very good season. We saw with Broja, he also had a good season, even though he didn't stay with us. I know a lot of Chelsea guys, Eli, but they did very well. And now we're going to Man City with Lavia and
you guys
Bazunu.
are cycling through the teams.
Yeah, we'll probably go maybe Liverpool next season. But I'm excited to see how those young players play. I think offensively, it's still a big question with Che and
it is.
Armstrong.
It's a tough one.
Shane Long, you know, he's no
Legend.
longer with us.
Legend. He will always be remembered at St. Mary's
Yeah.
Stadium. You guys should
Yeah.
make a statue. Dude,
To be
it's
fair.
so deserved.
Yeah.
What a legendary player. Okay, my question for you would be, is this window, because I know Southampton is always relatively active in the transfer windows, like way more than Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
So is this window out of the ordinary for how well you guys have done in regards to signings because of your new ownership and stuff? Or is this similar to what you think has happened in the previous years? Because obviously, like, you guys, maybe you look 5 years ago, you guys have had some great signings and some great productions, but since then, I think it's been lacking in the production of players that you have. So do you think this is similar to the past seasons, or going to bring back the kind of production you guys were seeing in 2015-16 when you guys were finishing higher in the table and selling every player onto Liverpool?
I'd say by this time, usually most years we've only signed like one player. Usually we sign all of our players within the like last week of the transfer window, which is really frustrating, but I'm glad that the new owners are taking initiative and we've signed like 4 players. Yes, I don't think they're going to improve the squad right away, but they're young players, and I think that has a certain aspect that older players don't have. Like, they're going to be hungry to succeed like Livramento did. He got a starting spot first day and then, you know, never gave it up. He actually displaced Kyle Walker-Peters, who was one of our best players, and he had to play left back because Livramento was playing so well. So I like the move, and I think it is one of the most active transfer windows of probably the last 4 years.
Yeah,
So,
that's good, bro. That's really good. Solid stuff. Eli, what about you? How do you feel about
Chelsea's a lot.
Raz?
Yeah,
in the
Lukaku,
entrance?
you know.
Yeah, how do you feel about all of that?
I mean, speaking of active transfer windows, we're the only Premier League team that hasn't made a signing yet. So. I think Sterling will be closed in the next. I mean, it'll be soon.
When Fabrizio's covering it, it's really hard to imagine that it won't happen.
Yeah, but at the same time, after all of the Rafinha business that's happened, like, who knows? I mean, I think Sterling, if we do sign Raheem Sterling, I think that's a great signing for us, because 45 million for someone who's Premier League proven, like someone who has Premier League pedigree, and he's behind Lionel Messi. He's the highest goal scorer under Pep Guardiola.
Wow.
That's crazy. What a stat.
So that, I know, I saw it on Instagram yesterday, and I was pretty shocked about that.
Wow, dude, that's a crazy stat.
Yeah, and the best part about it to me is that he's only 27 years old.
Yeah.
Which I've really, like, I thought he was 29, 30, like, but Raheem Sterling is young, and 27 is like kind of your prime years. Like, this is like, he could still
improve
grow into this role. And like, I think if he's ready to take on this role of, like, I think that's why he left Man City, was because he wants to be the guy. He wants to be, like, you know, he wants to be playing week in, week out, and he wasn't getting that at Man City. And so he's like, okay, like, I'll go show them that how good I still am, and like that I can still play at this level. And being 27 years old, and I think Tuchel will give him plenty of opportunities. Like, I think we could see a really good few seasons from Raheem Sterling. And then I guess with Rafinha, that's another, you know, one that was kind of interesting, because it kind of came super quick, like within a day. It was like, yep, agreement's in place for Chelsea. And then it's been a week and we haven't signed him.
Yep.
And looks like he wants to go to Barca, which is like his like dream club. So he wants to sign for Barca, but then it's kind of like, oh, well, I don't know where Barca's going to get the money to sign Rafinha. So it'll be interesting to see. Like, I honestly have no idea if he'll end up at Chelsea or not, but I do think that he won't go back to Leeds. Like,
no,
yeah,
see him returning.
But if you sign Raz, it's a good window, yeah? Like, I would assume that most Chelsea fans would think that.
I mean, if Sterling is our only signing, I'll be a bit disappointed, because our defense needs as much help as we can get. We need center backs badly. I think because of the shortage of center backs, I think we'll probably switch to 4 at the back. But right now, it's Thiago Silva and Trevor Chalobah or Azpilicueta.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Andreas Christensen's gone. Antonio Rudiger's gone. we're losing.
You do
so
need
much.
you do need either an academy player to like step up big time, or a new signing at center back. But there is still a fair amount of time to do that. Like, do you know if Chelsea is eyeing any center backs up that seem reasonable, and that the club or
Delict, I think.
Yeah, like is that legit though? Like with the sources that you've seen.
So with Jules Koundé, like we've had personal terms agreed for over a year now.
Dude, I forgot about that. That was happening a while ago.
Yeah.
It was happening like a long time ago, but the thing is, we just aren't agreeing terms and transfer fee with Sevilla.
Yeah.
De Ligt is on the market, and we were pursuing him, but it looks like he's going to choose Bayern. And then sadly, I really don't like this signing, but Nathan Ake from Man City.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really am not a fan of that. Like, I don't know. He's not Man City level, and he's not Chelsea level either.
He's Bournemouth level. Like, let's be real.
Yeah. Like, he's not top 6 level. So I'm really, really hoping that we bring in Jules Koundé, because we have players like Trevor Chalobah, who I have a lot of faith in, but he's not ready to be starting week in, week out. Neither is Malang Sarr, who's I'm not a fan of. And then Azpilicueta, if we go to a back 4, he can't really play like in a center back partnership. And then we have Levi Colwill, if you've heard of him. He's a youth academy talent who, same as Trevor Chalobah, I'd say, just not
needs time.
And then he needs time to like develop. So if we don't bring a center back, I'll be pretty disappointed.
Yeah, no, I can see that now. Like, it's especially with the departures. Like, you've lost a really solid Premier League top 6 backup and one of the best defenders, if not the best defender in the league the past year. So, like, you do have a lot of holes to fill up there, but I do think your attack is improving. So I think it's exciting times for Chelsea, as long as the board and the manager, Thomas Tuchel, does a good job of executing well with preparing the back line for next season. Definitely. Yeah. Well, that concludes sort of the transfer saga of this episode, and in total, this episode in general.
Yeah.
You know, we've sort of finished everything that we wanted to talk about. There's not much to talk about other than transfers right now, just because, like, we could dive into MLS, but we're not going to make you guys listen to that.
No.
So we're sort of just going to end it here. It was a really fun podcast, though. Thank you so much, Eli, for coming on. We're definitely going to have you back onto the pod to talk about things that are going on with Chelsea, things that are going on with the Champions League, and then just in general football. I'm sure that the fans are going to love having you on, and it was a super fun pod to record. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. Always got time for you, so let me know when you want me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got you, bro. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. This was the COD Weekly Podcast, Season 4, Episode 3. We'll be back again next week. We actually don't know what next week is going to be yet. Like, it's kind of crazy. We don't know, like, what the episode is going to look like, but by the time it comes out, we'll know. So we'll have an episode 4 for you guys on Monday at 7 p.m. at like in a week or whatever, since you're listening to this, but we don't know what it'll be. But make sure you tune in for that so that we can provide you with more content. And thank you for listening. Peace.